The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and I've got a desk full of fun stuff because today is Blox Day. We're so thrilled that we're going to welcome back the Blox folks. We had them on at the beginning of the summer and we you know, if you were watching the show, we had a bunch of sound issues for a while and now they're taken care of. So we're thrilled and holding my fingers crossed that hopefully Skype will be working well enough because we're going to talk about Blox again. And I love these things. They're very addictive. And the more you play with them, the more you want to play with them. So we're going to be talking with those folks. This is an award-winning toy. Somebody had mentioned yesterday about, because there were many days that we were saying we were going to keep the stuff on the desk until we could have them back, and then we had to take them off because, as I'm doing right now, people got so excited they were playing with them that they found it hard to focus on the interview. So I'm going to set these aside for a second and talk to you guys about all the things that are happening here today. First of all, welcome to the show. As I said, I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. We are here. This is the new home for Autism Live, and it's the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, and thrilled to be here with you for the next 2 hours live, talking about autism from a 360-degree perspective, pretty much anything which is why we're including toys, because toys and play are a big part of life and everything, right? And joy, and we don't want to leave the joy out, because just because we're all part of the autism community does not mean that there is an absence of joy. In fact, I think sometimes we are more appreciative of the joy and notice it more often than maybe people who aren't in the autism community. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it. In any case, we are going to be talking about autism, as I said, from that 360. I got to put the toy down and focus up, pay attention. They're addictive, I'm telling you. In any case, we are going to be with you live, and we hope that you'll interact with us, because nothing is more gratifying for us than having an opportunity to talk with you about the things that you have questions and concerns about, right? And have you share your joy as well and your toys as well. So Samantha is going to show you some of the different ways you can be in touch with us here at the show, while I remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. And when you go there, there's so many things to do there, but not the least of which is to watch the live show. If you click on the triangle that's on the computer screen, you can be watching the live show or the most recently recorded live show. If you want to go back into the archives, if you click on the memo button in the upper left-hand corner of that screen, it'll give you access to the 100 most recent shows that we've done. If you want to go back further than that, and there literally are thousands of videos at this point, all you have to do is visit one of our other sites, which Samantha has been showing you. You can go to YouTube, you can go to Roku, iTunes, Stitcher, and look at our archives that are there, and search by different names of different things. And we hope that you will do that. I do like to remind you guys at the start of the show that, by the way, you can use the live feature on our homepage, autism-live.com, to communicate with us as well. It's free and it's totally interactive. You go to autism-live.com, and to the side of the computer screen where the live show plays, there are a series of white boxes. If you put your cursor in the one that says your questions, you can type in that box with your cursor there and hit enter, and it shows up here on my screen, and in that way you and I can have a conversation. And even better than that, you can have a conversation with the folks that we have in the studio or via Skype and ask them questions. We really love it when you guys interact with us. That's the best way, because sometimes it just feels like we're talking out into the oblivion, and it's lovely when you remind us that you're there and that, you know, hopefully we're giving you something worthwhile, or if we're not, tell us and we'll get on track. Tell us what you want us to cover, okay? I do like to remind you at the start of the show that we have a lot of experts on the show, but I'm not one of them, right? I'm a mom, a very proud autism mom. I have a son who is 13 years old on the spectrum, was diagnosed at 2.5, and he's luscious, and I adore him, and our life is good. And our life is good because we lucked out and got resources that were beneficial to him and to us. And that's part of why I'm here, is that I joyously feel an obligation to pay it forward. And so I want to help you. And it, honestly, if you're watching this show, it doesn't matter why you're watching it. You can be a parent, a teacher, a practitioner, or you yourself could be a person who's on the autism spectrum. To me, you are all a part of my tribe. You are all a part of my community, and we all have many things that are different, right? We're not ever going to agree on absolutely everything, but we have one thing in common, and that's that we believe that there is more progress for people who are on the autism spectrum, and we want to make it possible through resources and support for them to get to that progress that is meaningful to them. And that's going to be different for everybody, right? That's why we have so much to talk to. People will sometimes say to me, do you really have that much to talk about autism? Oh, yes, we do. So stick with us, and we've got a great show coming up for you. But we like to start the day with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is when we take on one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to figure out, what are the experts talking about? What does this mean? What does this have to do with me? Why is this important to my life? And honestly, how's it going to help me, right? That's what it comes down to for me. And again, I know that those of you who watch the show know that I say for the first 2 years after my son was diagnosed with autism, I railed against the jargon. I was like, you people can speak in a way that the rest of us can understand, or I'm not listening, right? And that did me no good. What I discovered was that, it's so important to save time and energy and money, because we need money to do the things that are really important. And when you know what the experts are talking about, the reason why they use jargon is because it's quicker. So that saves time. And if you know what they're talking about, it will save you money. And rather than be overwhelmed by it, we just add a little bit every day. So today's jargon term, my friends, is imaginative play. And we talk about play a lot on the show because, and it's in the forefront of my mind because I was at a retreat last week, and they were talking about the importance of play, that it is a safe way to learn. And that is true for all of us. It does not matter what your zip code is. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It certainly doesn't matter whether you are on the spectrum or not. Play is a safe way to learn. But we always need to remember with autism, we have this assumption from our own experience and from seeing neurotypical kids play, that play is automatically gratifying, right? Except that it isn't always to everyone. And by the way, that isn't just people who are on the autism spectrum, but kiddos who are on the spectrum frequently don't find play reinforcing. For some of them, it feels like work. And for some of our kids, getting to imaginative play feels like something that's on a far distant island, right? But we can get to it. It's not that far away. So let's talk about what exactly is imaginative play. Imaginative play is, our actual definition is using imagination to create objects, locations, scenarios, and situations where they do not already exist for the purpose of play. Okay, you know me, and you know that I always have a little bit of a problem with a definition that uses one of the core words in the term we're trying to define in the definition, right? So let's go to our working definition, see if it's any better for us. Imaginative play is when we're making it up. So, okay, there are lots of different types of play, but there's 4 main types of play that we talk about here on the show. So let's go through those really quickly. There's something called functional pretend play. And that's the play, if you go to the toy store and you go down the aisle that has all the shopping carts and the toy vacuum cleaners and the toy blenders, and it's got the toy saw and it's got the toy hammer, right? All of those things are functional pretend play. Those are, it might have the toy computer, the toy cell phone, right? These are all things that kids will be exposed to in the world, but we've got a toy version of it. So that's called functional pretend play. So when you think about it, so we have the toy phone. I'm going to pretend that this is my toy cell phone, and we can get it so that it makes little beeps and it makes noises, and the child can dial. And if you think about, with a lot of kids, you pick up the phone and you go, hello, how are you, right? And it's a cell phone, and sometimes we can record messages on it. That's functional pretend play, because they're pretending to act like pretty much adults and other people. Really, really useful play. Now, then we go from there into symbolic play. And symbolic play is when we take it one step away. And what I actually just did was symbolic play. This is not a cell phone. This is not even a pretend cell phone. This is not a play cell phone. This is Lux blocks put together to make this funky shape that doesn't even resemble a phone. But what I did was I endowed this with the properties of a cell phone, and that's symbolic play. So for me, when I'm going, hello, who's there? Oh, hi, it's for you, right? I love to play that game with kids. And I love it when they pick it up and they start talking to whoever is on the phone. It's a great thing. But so what I've done, this is symbolizing a cell phone, okay? So I've taken it one step away. First we have it looks like, but it's plastic and it doesn't function like the real thing. Then I take something that doesn't actually resemble it and I pretend that it's that, symbolic play, right? Then we get into imaginative play. And at that point, I just pick up my pretend phone and I go, hi. Oh, it's your brother Billy and he wants to talk to you, right? There's nothing there, right? But I'm making it up. And a lot of times with our kiddos who are on the autism spectrum, we just despair of thinking we're never going to get there. But the truth of the matter is if you start playing with the pretend play toys and then you pick up something else, and you have to do this with lots of different things. So I pick this up and I go, and I can draw little numbers on this and I pick it up. And at first, our kids who are very literal will be like, that's not a cell phone. But the more I go, oh, really? Oh, no. Are you kidding me? Did she really say, oh, she wants to talk to you? Right? The kids, it gets funny for them and they want to participate in it, right? It's a leap. And then I can go from there. Once I've gotten them to buy into that this is a cell phone and this is a cell phone, and they start to go, oh, the rules are it can be anything. And they begin to understand play. And then we can get to that totally imaginative play where we pick it up. Now, imaginative play gets really to a lot of different things. Of course, it gets to social things, but it really gets to rules. And for a lot of our kids who have flexibility, it's because they have rules in their head that are black and white. No, the rule is a cell phone is a cell phone is a cell phone. And if you think about, if we can start with a child who's very young and go, yeah, but I can pretend a cell phone is this, and I can say that on the phone is grandma, and I can change my mind and say it's dad on the phone, then we're teaching flexibility. We're teaching that rules can be bent, and that's an exciting thing. And there are lots of different ways that we can teach imaginative play, and I'm holding one of them. Man, because this is a toy that allows you to look at it and go, all right, what do I want to make this into being? This right here, to me, this could be a spaceship, right? And it can expand and do all kinds of things. It's been fascinating to us since we had these in the office, asking people what they think this is and watching them play with it. But I got to be honest, the thing that I've been most excited about, this is a shape that my son put together. And to me, it looks like a basket, right? That it's got a flat part and it's got this crisscross handle. But this crazy little shape, this is now my litmus test for everybody coming into my office. I put this on the desk and I watch them play with it. And it's fascinating to see all the different shapes that they make out of this one thing. And whether it's symmetrical or it's asymmetrical, it's fascinating. And you learn a lot about how people think by seeing what they do with this crazy shape and all the different things that they can do from it. Okay, so that's what we're talking about with imaginative play. And as we get into the holidays, you know me, I'm all about the toys, and we're going to be covering more and more toys that ignite imagination in our children, that give them a safe opportunity to create and to work things out. The fourth type of play that I didn't mention was sociodramatic play. And it's the kind of play when you are working out social problems. And by the way, in sociodramatic play, you can use all the other types of play along with it, but sometimes we dress up and we take on different characters in sociodramatic play. So for instance, here I've got my helicopter, right, which is just so cool. It's just so amazing, and so much fun. And I can be playing this and I can become the noise of the helicopter, right? I can, right? And then I can become the pilot going, okay, Red Rover, we gotta land, we're coming in for a landing here now, right? And then I can become somebody on the ground who says, it's not secure, it's not secure. I can take on all those different roles. I can do that by myself, but then I can start to play with somebody else. And when we start to role play with somebody else, so say I'm mom and I'm playing with my son and I am modeling behavior that I want him to see, that there's no rules, right? And sometimes when my kid was little, he would go, you can't do that. And I would go, why? Why can't I do that? And then I would just keep doing it and I would make it fun. And then suddenly he'd be doing it with me and I've taught him flexibility, right? People are calling me. In any case, lots of different things you can do. But if I start to play with this and I make noises, I teach my child that I can make noises for the thing. If I teach him that I can make the noise of the helicopter pilot and that I can talk to him as the helicopter pilot, then that's the beginning of perspective taking, right? Because I want to think of things that a helicopter pilot would say. And when we get our kids to be thinking that way, super duper cool. So love these Lux Blox analysts. We're going to be talking with the founder and CEO of Luxbox and about how these amazing toys came into being, because there's a science answer behind these that is pretty spectacular. Okay. All right. I love to talk about play and the benefits of play. I love when Dr. Granpeesheh is on the show and she talks about play, and she says that if you look at it, men they better access play in their whole lives because they continue to have toys. It's just that their toys become technology as they grow older. And that sometimes for women, we struggle because a lot of especially for those my age, when we played with toys, a lot of times somebody handed us a baby doll and said, take care of that baby, right? And so as we age, our toys get transferred to our children. And we play with our children and they become our toys, but then our kids get to a certain age where they don't appreciate being considered your play toy anymore, and that creates some havoc, and that as women, we need to make sure that we continue to play with toys. And as far as I'm concerned, that's why Pinterest exists. So that we can be crazy women and try crafts that don't work out. And sometimes do. But really, you should be thinking about what kind of play do you engage in and how does it gratify you. But we can't make assumptions about individuals with autism about what gratifies them. But the younger a child is, the easier it is to teach them all the different things that they can do. And we can pair the play with stuff that is actually reinforcing to them. And what we see after a very short period of time is that then the play becomes reinforcing. But we have to work at it a little bit in the beginning, and it's a worthwhile thing to do because play, guess what, reduces stress. Woohoo! And you learn. All right, so that's our jargon for the day. Moving on, we always have a question for you. I love this question because it gets right to the heart of the matter. What was your favorite toy as a child? And we're going to be talking a little bit later on about, you may know Frank Lloyd Wright, who was one of the most amazing architects. and Einstein, obviously a brilliant person, what their favorite toys were, because they both had the same favorite toy. Don't we find that interesting? And it's part of the inspiration for Lux Blox. But I will tell you that my favorite toy as a child, I had a lot of favorite toys, but my absolute favorite toy was a toy that my dad bought me for my 10th birthday. He was on a business trip in California. We lived in upstate New York, and he came back on the evening of my 10th birthday and gave me something called the Imagination Dollhouse. Oh my goodness. And it was very 70s in its makeup. Basically, it was a bunch of sheets of clear plastic that were in different neon colors, and there were staircases, but you could put it together, kind of like girl Legos, so that it made platforms on which you could put furniture, and there were furniture to put on it. So you could reconfigure it any way that you wanted to. You could make it 6 stories that were all just one, like a tower, or you could, it was a dollhouse that you could put together in any different way. And I loved that dollhouse with every fiber of my being. Wish I still had it. So, and it's interesting to me how much your favorite toys shape you as a child. That what you liked as a child becomes. I don't think it's a coincidence that I live in California now, because when I was a kid, I thought that all good things came from California because the Imagination Dollhouse came from California. So of course, at some point I had to come to California, and then I had to live in California, and now I've lived here for a long time. And I'm not an architect, but I do like rearranging furniture, and I like building toys. And that was very much a building toy. But what's your favorite toy, and why? What did it ignite in you? And how did it shape who you became? Because we're going to start to talk about what toys we should still have in our lives and what toys we want to give our kiddos to help them. I'm a big proponent of every dollar that we spend has to be spent well. And so when we spend money on toys for the holidays, it's got to be something that helps our kids in every way. Blox, love them. Okay, so moving on, we always have a topic of the week, and our topic this week, I bet you can guess, our topic is play as a tool. It is a tool. It is a way in which we learn, as I said, but it's a safe way in which we learn. And both of the guests that I have on today, one, it's very obvious how play affects their life. The other one, it's less obvious, but I'm going to make the leap and make the argument here. So some of the things that we're going to be doing on the show today. First up, we have Mike Acerra, who's going to be joining us from Lux Blox. Keep your fingers crossed on that Skype working. And then a little bit later on in the second hour today, we are going to have Carrie Bowers on the show. Carrie is one of those autism moms. I find it hilarious when people meet me at a conference or at a walk or whatever, and they come up and they go, "Oh my gosh, you just do so much stuff." And I'm kind of like, what? And laughing up my sleeve because I don't feel like I get anything done. But there are autism moms that I just go, okay, I am intimidated. And Carrie Bowers is one of them. I have never gotten to meet her in person, and she's coming into the studio, and I jokingly said to her, okay, the end of the world is coming because I'm finally getting to meet Carrie Bowers, because I've tried many times and it just didn't time out. And then a couple of years ago, we were at the same performance where there were only 20 people in the audience, and afterwards, somebody said, oh yeah, Carrie Bowers was here, and I must have been sitting like 2 seats away from her and nobody mentioned it, and so I didn't know it was her. So it's a pretty big deal today that I'm going to get to meet her, and hopefully the world is not coming to an end and I'm not going to die. Because I'm like, wow, I finally get to meet her. But she is an amazing autism mom that is doing so many things that it makes my head spin. She's one of the co-founders of the Art of Autism. She is a filmmaker. Her son, who is on the spectrum, together with him, they've made 2 films, not just 1, 2 films now. Normal People Scare Me and Normal People Scare Me Too. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what she does. She's going to be talking to us about several different things. She's an amazing autism mom. And on the phone, she mentioned to me what she was doing in her previous life before autism came to live at her house. And I was like, okay, there's just so much depth to this woman. And yes, I'm still playing with the toys. But so Carrie Bowers is going to be here in the second hour, and that's going to be really cool. And you know it's Mindful Thursday, so we're going to have a mindfulness tip. And we've got some news stories. I will tell you one that's just horrifying and one that's pretty exciting. So because we never like to leave you with a too horrible taste in your mouth. So all of that and Lux Blox coming up after these messages. Stick with us. Currently in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism. My beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke? Guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah. Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible.
This is Logan Shepherd. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends, he doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepherd is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, his parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepherd now.
All I really want to say is, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, that one day, I can just, inspire people and never give up. Because, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
Welcome back to Autism Live. If you've been watching the show, you know how excited we have been about these things that I'm holding in my hand that are in the configuration right now of a helicopter. These are Lux Blox. And we found out about these and got so excited. They're an award-winning toy, and we wanted to know more about them. We wrote to the folks at Lux Blox. We had them on the show earlier in the summer, but we had such sound problems that I said, you know, we got to do this over again. So we're thrilled to welcome back to the show Mike and Heather Acerra. We've got them on. There you guys are. We're thrilled and excited to have you guys here with us, and thanks for being so patient with us while we worked out our technical difficulties. But I have to say that we kept the Lux Blox on our desks for like a month, and every show we did, we talked about Lux Blox, and somebody wrote into us yesterday and said, I want to know, are the Lux Blox people paying you? Because they bought some of the toys and and we played with them so much. They said that we were a good advertisement. And I said, no, that you guys are not paying us anything. We just are that much in love with these toys. So we got to say that out the gate. And thanks for sending these to us so that we can play with them. And we have some kits that we're going to be giving away. We've got 2 different kits that we're going to give away. But Mike and Heather, start by telling us, how did the Lux Blox come to be?
Okay, great. It's a bit of a lifetime journey. Michael and I are both architecture enthusiasts, and Michael especially had been studying Buckminster Fuller and others that were pioneers in structure and design for about 20-some years. And about 4 or 5 years ago, we decided, hey, you know, let's try and make a block, the same kind of block that had inspired some of our great architects that we admired. Both Frank Lloyd Wright and Buckminster Fuller had played with Froebel blocks, and Froebel was the inventor of kindergarten, and he had come up with this set of blocks that both of those pioneers had played with and said had been instrumental in informing them about structure and design. So we decided we wanted to do something similar.
And isn't it true that Einstein also played with the Froebel blocks?
I don't know if Einstein did. His real formative experience came from his father, who his business was installing electromagnetos, the first power plants, and his dad had given him a very heavy magnet and a compass. And Einstein saw that the compass was affected by the magnet. So it was simple gifts like that from his father that really got him on a lifetime habit of thought experiments. And Einstein completely believed that it was the visual imagination and music that are more stimulating for the brain than rote learning. So, but I don't know if he went to a Froebel kindergarten. I'd have to check that out. I'm not sure.
Okay. Maybe in some of our literature, you may have seen a reference to Einstein, and one of the things that we kind of link in with is the fact that for his theories of relativity, he had to tap into a different geometry other than planar geometry,
Right.
And you're able to capture that with our blocks, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah, he had to use hyperbolic geometry, or they called it Riemann geometry back then, and geodesics. And once he was able to use that geometry, he was able to explain how space warps through gravity. And our blocks do that. Our blocks give you access to those 3 geometry groups: planar, convex, and concave.
All of which is Greek to me. I'm just going to be honest in case anybody goes, whoa, you just lost me there. I'm right there with you. But
Yeah.
I love the fact that these blocks have so much depth to them that somebody who doesn't understand that, like myself, can sit here and have hours of fun. But
Right.
that for somebody who does get that more in-depth stuff, like my son, can play with this toy on a whole other level and do other things with them. So this, and I understand that when you set about trying to design this, part of your plan was to create a block for this century. Is that correct?
Right. Yeah, and the thing was, we weren't setting out to build a toy. We were setting out to solve a problem, and the problem had to do with the problem of the block. And so we looked at nature. And so we look at nature first, which is always wise, and we wanted to see, well, how does nature put itself together, right? And so we looked at molecules, and we looked at ideas about structure, and people like Frank Lloyd Wright and Buckminster Fuller and Einstein. And we said, okay, there's a way nature puts itself together. and it's an optimization problem. How do we, there's a theory called min-max, or minimum inventory, maximum diversity. And nature optimizes, so a single DNA strand will express itself for all the cells in your body. The same DNA strand will either turn your cell into a hair cell, or an eye cell, or a skin cell, or a muscle cell, right? And that's amazing design. So we wanted to make a single block, you can see it, that when you put these things together, they can make all geometry. They can make any kind of geometry group. So from that single block, we were able to finally figure out, after a lot of trial and error, how to make that single block make everything in nature. And that was really the thing that we succeeded at, which was really more of a deeper kind of problem, but it easily turned into a toy.
But part of, when we talk about things, it sounds a little too scientific, perhaps for some people. What it really comes down to, in terms of design that enables that kind of versatility, I'd say one of the primary components that allows that is the hinge, because with the hinge, you can make a curve. And that's essentially, when you talk about hyperbolic geometry, it sounds really complicated and, theory of relativity, but all that really was stating was they needed geometry that would capture curves and warps, and that's what this allows you to do.
Yeah, here's a simpler way of looking at it. Do you see this box?
Yeah.
Do you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, this box is a box, not because solid objects were piled on and glued together, but this is a box that was made out of Blox, and all I have to do is peel away the corners here, and you can see what the Lux blocks really want to do is they want to turn into like a fabric, right? They're squishy, right? They're squishy. But the minute you fold the corners, you're doing origami with the blocks, essentially. You're getting structure through folds. So the rigidity came when we just stopped, we locked it in, locked that motion. Right. And it's the same kind of rigidity you get in an airplane wing. An airplane wing is made out of sheet aluminum, right? Thin sheets of aluminum, but they fold it all up and rivet it together, and that wing is very strong and light, and it gets a huge amount of performance. So that's what we wanted to give kids, was a high-performance block, a block that derives the same kind of performance that engineers get out of sheet metal with airplanes.
It's so cool. And in fact, I want to pause for a second. We have some video that you guys had sent us that shows just some of the possibilities. So Samantha, let's take a look at that, and then we're going to come back and talk more with Mike and Heather as I continue to play with this really cool toy. So take a look. I'm just so excited and enthralled. I love these toys. And I want you to talk just a little bit, you guys, about why are they in 3 different colors? Why did you choose these colors and 3 colors?
Well, the most important reason is that orange is my favorite color.
I love that reason. I love it.
And no, we wanted to go with some colors that really they stood out. We did talk with some girls that were sort of tween age girls to get a sense of, hey, how important is it to have pinks and purples for you in a construction block? And they were pretty insightful. They told us, hey, you know, there are definitely girly girls out there that are going to prefer those colors, but we like the color of gym shoes and fluorescent colors that are very popular right now. So we thought about it and we thought, well, let's just make the orange fluorescent. Let's go with brighter colors that are gender neutral and that are not the same as the primary colors, because we really wanted our block to appeal to people of all ages. And I think sometimes when you have the primary colors, that skews more towards elementary ages.
Yeah.
So that's sort of it. We are planning on introducing new colors in 2017, but for now, these are our brand colors. We really like them, and this is what we have for now.
Well, and I love them. I got to tell you, it's created such a stir here, because we have a whole IT department who's down the hall from us, brilliant minds, right? And we showed these to them, and they went nuts. We're talking about people age range from 17 to probably early 60s. They went completely nuts over these. And it was interesting when we asked them, what all would you do with these? And one of the people was saying, you know, oh my gosh, I was talking about how my son in 8th grade is starting to learn the periodic table. And they were saying, because there's the 3 different colors, that we could put together different and create the different elements in the periodic table using the 3 different colors, which got us very excited. And the list was endless. I hadn't thought about, as you guys were talking about geometry, because in 8th grade he's doing geometry too. And that's just in addition to, can you build a helicopter? And all the things that we saw in that video. So I have to say, this is a great toy for so many people. What would you say? On your box, you have the age ranges from 6 to 116. And I would venture that if there are people who are over the age of 116, that they would find. There hasn't been a single guest that has come in that hasn't sat and played with these, and after a while said, oh my gosh, I am totally lost in this toy. We've had people who are on the spectrum, people who are not on the spectrum. Everybody has loved them. But let's take just a second here, you guys, to talk about what you have found with this toy with kids on the spectrum, because they really kind of love it, don't they?
They do, and all along the spectrum, we have friends who have children who they say are on the spectrum. I just think their children are just very, they seem to me very gregarious and bright and energetic, but I guess they have some ADHD or something, you know, something I think is probably pretty mild, but they're eccentric and they're just terrific kids, and they love the block. But they had friends I think maybe I showed you the video, who had a child who was severely sensitive. He was hearing sensitive, and he never played with toys. And he saw his sister playing with Blox, and they turned the camera on, and because he was intimating that he wanted to play with them, and they filmed him putting the blocks together. They were doing the hand over hand, helping with him, and he really enjoyed the block. So that was, for them, that was a really big deal.
His mother was really moved to tears because he had never played with a toy other than, I think he had touched, you know, screens on electronics, but he had never used a manipulative of any sort in that way, and he was really captivated by it. Mm-hmm. And we can only speculate that, you know, because I have some friends who are therapists. There are some folks, and I don't profess to be an expert by any means, and you might be able to lend us some understanding here, but some folks on the spectrum and otherwise are comforted by the motion.
Yeah.
So there's something about that hinge and the mechanical action that is not only interesting, but can provide a certain soothing aspect to it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, it was not something, it's sort of something we stumbled upon, and we're just so grateful to find this out.
Right.
Yeah.
The toy is pliant, and it's a great fit. Of course, it's a great fidget toy, right? Because it moves.
Yes.
But what it does is it replicates the mechanics of squish. So if you can see that, that's squishing it. You could feel like a squish like on a pillow when you play with these toys, because it's actually been mechanically reduced to what a squish really is.
Yeah.
A squish, it's not a technical term, but kids like squishy things like clay, and these solid blocks give you that kind of nice pliant motion.
One of the things, if I may add, we intentionally designed the block to be very democratic in the sense that we really want everyone, whether on the spectrum or not, to use their imagination and items they might have laying around the house to expand the kit. So if you look at the block itself, we have the star-shaped connector in the middle, and you can use that with some of our accessories. We throw in some dowel rods and some popsicle sticks and that sort of thing. So you could use that to connect block to block in a erector set-like fashion. But we also included these holes all around the center, and those holes are configured to the same gauge as the wires that you would find in robotics or the other engineering circuitry type of toys. So I have no idea what somebody might do with that, but I can only imagine if you were able to, put an engine on this and do something from a robotics standpoint, it could be very amusing. And I know other blocks have their own robotics things. I just think that you would do a lot more with the hinge. So we'll see what happens.
We're aiming at a lot of versatility with the block.
Yeah, it's really amazing how many different things you can do with it, and we've enjoyed. Really, I've learned so much about this over the summer, because anytime somebody came in, we've had kiddos that were on the spectrum that were very young and handed them to them and watched them play with them. We've watched older teenagers play with them. We've seen people who are neurotypical play with them. And it's been fascinating. I've learned a lot about watching people play with these, and everybody wants to play with it. So here's the big question. Where do we get them?
Go ahead, you want?
No, you go ahead.
We're almost 800 stores now or more, because we just got into Barnes & Noble. So mostly in retail locations you can get them, but you can also get them online too. Marbles, the Brain Store, has them on their website. Barnes & Noble has them on their website, and there are 450 stores. And they're almost
Hammacher Schlemmer's
the Christmas catalog. They'll have them. Yeah, Brilliant Sky Toys. So, but like I said, in about 350 other mom and pop retail locations around the country, if you go to our website, luxblox.com, with a B-L-O-X, luxblox.com, there's a store locator, and you can find if there's a store near you.
Mm-hmm.
You can also buy them. You could also buy them at our website, luxblox.com.
Or Amazon.
Yeah, and we just put luxblox.com up. They're really cool, you guys. They're ingenious. You used some young talent in order to create these blocks, didn't you? Who helped on the team to create them?
Well, a lot of kids, but primarily it was a German kid. I call him a German kid. His family immigrated here. He perfectly speaks English, but they were homeschooling across the street from us, and he was 15 years old, and I volunteered to be in this FRC robotics challenge, and I had known this boy, Daniel, and one of the requirements was, they said if somebody in a team learned AutoCAD, which is automated drafting on the computer, they got more points. So he learned it right away, and I told Heather, I said, I'm an artist, so I know how to draw. I said, I can draw these designs we've been talking about. Daniel could put them in the computer as an AutoCAD drawing, and we could buy a 3D printer and start actually making models to see if this idea works.
That really, if I may, we didn't actually start that way with the 3D printer. We had actually started with Michael drawing the designs and putting them into CAD and then sending them to a plastics company, and we would wait sometimes a month or two to get a small prototype back, and it'd be very expensive, and it was very difficult. It was so slow going, and it was very difficult to really prove your concept when you had to wait that long and it was that expensive. So the 3D printer really enabled us to try lots of different ideas and then get feedback. So we'd have lots of kids, because we homeschooled our kids. We had a nice network of children to get feedback from, and parents and families. So I think, honestly, part of the reason the design is as good as it is, and we, at some point you have to stop because you keep, refining and refining, but I think it's because it came out of sort of a community and families giving input, as opposed to a corporate boardroom. Hey, let's make a toy. So I think that makes it totally unusual.
Right. And those focus groups we had were brutal. We had kids who were strangers to us come in too, And one kid from Chicago, his parents both went to West Point, they were engineers, brilliant kid, but he wanted to stack our blocks like Legos, which that wasn't the point of our block. But I said to Heather, I said, it's breaking my heart, but he's right. We got to give the Lego kid the option of taking the blocks and stacking them, and that's why we came with that hole in the middle, so you can do a face-to-face connection if you want to. And but we thought we were ready to go to market, and we went right back to redesign again. So those were heartbreaking, but they were honest sessions, and those kids taught us a thing or two, didn't they?
They really did. If you saw the buckets of different designs that we had tried, you'd be amazed at the number of ideas that went into this, and some were discarded.
And kids actually, it's on our website, kids actually helped us when we first started manufacturing. We had a barn in Cameron, Illinois, and 3 families came together, and we paid them in pizza and toys, and we all, parents and the kids all helped bag the blocks, box the blocks, and send them off. So it was a real family operation for a time there.
I love that. I want to be paid in pizza and toys. That sounds like fun to me. Well, it's great. I also want to mention that these are made in the USA. That's another feature to these that I know for a lot of people that's an important thing. They're spectacular. And they are great for all of our kids, including our kiddos who are on the spectrum. I have seen, there are so many different things that our kiddos can do, but one of the first things that it does is that you're building those fine motor skills when they're snapping them together. It's not difficult. Some of our kids will find it challenging in the beginning, but what we have seen is because it is so reinforcing when they get them together, they're willing to work through that. And it builds the muscles in their hands, which helps with hand-eye coordination. It helps with handwriting and a whole host of other skills. And from there, the skills that they can work on are absolutely amazing. And because it's reinforcing, they're willing to do it. So Mike and Heather, I just adore you. We love this amazing block. I keep calling it a toy because for me, calling it a toy is like the highest compliment, but the truth is it's ever so much more than a toy. It's really amazing. And I thank you guys for all your hard work and getting it to market. And we look forward to talking about it more on the show because it's so super awesome.
We really appreciate your support, and it's true, yes, we aren't paying you, so thank you so much for that.
But we love it. We're very excited about it. And again, people should visit luxblox.com, but also check it out in Barnes & Noble and support this family in this amazing effort and get this in your home. You won't be sorry. They're so super cool. Thanks, you guys. Yes?
One thing I want to mention before I forget,
sure.
Our blocks are packaged and our fulfillment center is run by an organization that helps train people along the spectrum, right?
That's absolutely right.
I don't think I knew that.
It's called Bridgeway, and it's a nonprofit, and the people who package and everything, they have all different kinds of situations there in their life, but we thought that was very interesting, so I wanted to share that with you.
You guys are walking your talk. We love it. We love it, and we love you.
Well, thank you.
Shannon.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch, and thank you for being with us. Again, it's Lux Blox, you guys, award-winning toy. Check it out. Great toy for the holiday season. We're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back with more Autism Live after these messages.
Sound speed.
Saw sticks.
Accent.
But yeah, welcome back to 10 years.
The whole point of ABA is that you teach him how to teach himself. And I don't know that is necessarily, I guess I didn't realize that was supposed to happen from the beginning. I thought that now it was all a lot of work with him, and then later he would start to figure out how to do it for himself, but he's already doing it. And repetition is the underlying thing, because for, I think, young kids in general, but certainly with kids with autism, it takes them a little more time.
Touch car. No, try again. Try again, okay? Okay. Last one. Touch car. Yeah, touch it though. Touch car. Good. What is it? What is this? What is this? Yes, car. Okay.
And I don't think we completely appreciate how much work he's doing to learn, because it's normal for us too. I mean, this is what he has to do to learn these things, so it's now become normal for us.
It's still hard to sit out here and listen to the monitor and hear them repeatedly ask him to do something where he's upset and he's crying, but it always works out. It's a reminder of just don't give up, because he always eventually accomplishes what they're asking, and then I hear the reward. I hear him jumping up and down and them cheering.
You have the monitor, so you know what's happening. Does that make a huge difference for you? I like to know. It was hard at first to hear him, have a problem.
Yeah, it's easy when he's doing great to have the monitor. It's hard when he's struggling and crying.
And in the beginning, it was hard too, because.
Well, I always thought at the beginning, should I go help?
That's how we did it, because
Yeah.
we had speech therapy and occupational therapy to start with, and if he cried, then we made it better, and we were encouraged to make it better. If he was crying with the speech therapist, something wasn't right. It was different when ABA started. Crying was sort of part of the game.
Yeah, I met a guy who at not an ABA thing, orientation that basically told me ABA, yeah, they're paid to piss your kid off. So I try to remember that. They're paid to piss him off.
Right, when I
That's
noticed
right.
one day, like, he was really pissed off, and that was because he wanted to poop. And,
Yeah,
you know?
that was actually a rough day for us, because we felt like we'd abused him almost. That we really
I mean,
never.
Well, yeah, I got what she was trying to do with him. I understood that, he wasn't being compliant. But then once we realized what it was that he wanted, it was just
And
like.
he just wanted a moment to go sit in a corner, and like, us adults, we would say, see ya. But no.
Well, and I took
He
him
couldn't.
back, and when I was changing him, the whole conversation he and I had was, all you have to do is tell us. And I had him repeat, 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, that was a bad day though for us, because we felt like we had let him down.
Well, and
Anything?
and how and I've thought about it probably a dozen times.
He must have been
since then.
miserable. He was really upset. And
But would it have been the right thing for us to rescue him and be like, what, can we just let him go? And I don't know what the right answer is.
well, we didn't think of it, and they didn't think of it. We didn't.
No, we didn't know.
We didn't know what he was trying to do, and.
We didn't know if he was just being ornery or if.
but it's a thought now. That's as hard as he'd fought anything for a long time.
I sat there even thinking that it's like, it's hard, and it's somebody else's kid, and mom and dad are sitting right here, and he's screaming, and she had to keep doing it to show him what it was that she wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And that's not easy, and I respect that.
Yeah, she had a hard time, I'm sure. It's got to enter their mind that mom and dad are right here, and I'm pushing him so hard that he's. I almost heard a couple 4-letter words from a kid who doesn't talk really. But
that was good for us to see
Yeah.
too. That it's like, because we don't know how far to push him when he's behaving.
But
that
we
way.
also have to remember that we're the parents, and that maybe there's something else going on. That's a lesson there for us. Is that maybe we should have.
And
next time.
We've even acted differently since then. That if we see him going into the corner, we're trying to give him words. To tell us what it is that he's doing, so that the next time something like that happens, if he needs a minute, that he can
I never thought I'd
vocalize
have
it.
this conversation, but you just, Jack, can you just say poop? I'm pooping. Can you say that? And it's that would never happen again if he gets that skill. That would never happen again. Daddy, you gotta poop, or daddy poop, or whatever. Mommy
he will.
poop.
Like kids.
He's getting there.
Kids do, and he's
He's learning.
He's definitely learning to value in words.
Yes, he is. He's learning that he gets he gets not necessarily everything he wants. He gains from his vocabulary now. He gains specifics.
How about you guys? Like, you talk about how he's adjusted and getting better. How have you guys been adjusting to diagnosis, the therapy, the
We're good.
30 hours over top of your 30 hours?
We're good.
It's all good.
No. I'm just physically tired. That's other than that. People, strangers that used to come into our house are now friends. You know, it's not the same thing.
And I think it's become our normal. I don't think we would be we'd be sad for obvious reasons if it ended, because we want our son to get all the help that he can get. But yeah, to have a week without people coming in, I think would be like really cool.
We'd be okay with it. But having said that, we love everybody that comes into our house.
And it just is what it is, and we see such progress in him that I don't think the inclination to be free is strong enough to override the inclination to continue to watch his progress.
Yeah.
On the flip side of that, if we're being completely honest, and this is the hard part of the honest part, but they help us. We've gotten great advice, and if we have issues, we can ask, and we have somebody to ask every single day, and that's all good. But on the flip side, there are definitely the days too where it's like, did we do anything right?
Yeah. There's days where
there's too many suggestions where it's like
suggestions are. It's easy to suggest when you spend 2 hours or 3 hours with somebody and go home or go to another child. Well, I got him for the next 21 hours too after you leave. Sometimes there's too many suggestions, and they don't mean anything negative.
No. I mean, some of the suggestions, even if you roll your eyes when you first get it, like, pause this movie and see if he'll take a bite. Yeah, right. Sure he will. And then he does.
Yeah.
So we've learned enough.
Which kind of pisses you off.
It's like, wait a minute.
It kind of pisses me off when they're right all the time.
But I did the pausing.
Yeah, I paused it.
I did.
You didn't pause it. I did.
And
every once in a while we'll whisper under our breath, really. And then it works usually. So it's just a defense mechanism, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, or we feel like Jack, I think sometimes too, that we've lost a lot of control of our world these days.
I'm enjoying him much more because he's not as scary to me. As I learn more about autism and about his steps forward, it's less intimidating to me. As we get more skills on how to deal with the rough times, it's less intimidating to me. And I pick him up, he puts his head on my shoulder for 25 seconds, and that's like my favorite 25 seconds. And then of course he looks around, and then I put him down, but for 25 seconds he just puts his head here, which he doesn't always do. Lately he's been doing it a lot. I like that.
Absolutely.
Very good, very good. That's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Sorry.
You get it? No.
Okay. How old are you?
12.
Just checking.
I told you.
How much do I love this family? Excuse me. So much that I'm verklempt. I love how honest this family was over a period of years. And it's funny. Now I have a tickle. When we started doing this show, they were just at the very beginning of filming. And I would always say, when we would show these clips, I would say, I love watching this because I get to see it from another point of view, and I know what the end of the story is. Because I had been through the same intervention with my son, in fact, with a lot of the same therapists. And so I saw all the fears that they had, but I already knew what the end of the story was. But they didn't. And I appreciate their honesty in them saying, we're so grateful, but, sometimes we feel like we've lost control, that, we're parenting by committee was always the phrase that I used, because that's hard. And I know for those of you who are watching who don't have a quality ABA program, sometimes it's probably impossible not to look at it and go, don't these people realize what they have? But those of you who are doing quality ABA programs know how exacting it is on your life and how tired you can become and how overwhelmed you can become. So I love, love, love the honesty, and I love that you get the back and forth between this wonderful couple talking about, well, if we had a week off where no strangers came, yeah, we'd be kind of excited, and that sometimes it's tough, and then the dad saying, yeah, but I'm not as afraid as I was. And now that I understand him more, and I know what to do more, and that we have these moments where he puts his head on my shoulder. I'm sorry, this is just, like you can't, you guys all know you can't buy this, right? It's that stuff, it's those amazing miracles that other people couldn't possibly begin to understand, but we get it. We get it. So anyway, watch the A Word in its entirety. You can skip ahead, go back. You can still write to the family and talk to them about how they're doing and how Jack Riley is doing now, to see what it's like a couple of years later. It's kind of amazing. But it is time for our mindful moment here. Thursdays, we like to take a mindful moment. And today I want to talk particularly about creative visualization, because mindfulness can be lots of different things. And we've talked a lot on the show about being in the moment, being fully engrossed in the moment to the point where, you feel your hand on something and feel the pressure of it and notice the light and all the sensory things going on. And that's a really great thing to be that level of mindful. But sometimes being mindful can mean traveling to something that doesn't exist yet, as long as it's something that reduces stress. Why not, right? There really aren't any rules, but let's say that if it makes you more stressed out, because I know my mind can travel to yesterday and all the things I didn't get done and then stress, and it can travel to tomorrow, all the things I don't know how they're going to go, stress, right? That's not useful for me if I'm focusing on reducing stress. So that's the big rule for creative visualization, is that it has to be something that reduces your stress. And it's a pretty powerful tool. What creative visualization is sitting quietly someplace where you're comfortable. You can be laying down, you can be sitting down, it can be on a beach if you want it to be, or it can be in a dark room where you're laying on your bed at night before you go to sleep. But you allow your mind to take a journey into something that you want to have happen. So for instance, if what you want more than anything else is, one of the things that while we were in our early intensive intervention that I would visualize is my son standing in front of me in a cap and gown, and him saying to me, Mom, thank you so much for everything that you did to make it possible for me to be here, right? I want that moment. And just thinking about that moment puts a silly, stupid grin on my face, because I know that that's going to happen, and that has happened without the cap and gown, right? When he graduated from 6th grade, he didn't have a cap and gown, but he was there in a tie, right? And saying to me, thank you so much, Mom. So, and here's the kicker. Whether I have that exact moment at any point, it doesn't matter, because whenever I sit and close my eyes and I picture my son doing that, man, I can do things that I couldn't do 3 minutes before. I can power through something. I can make a phone call. I can work on homework that I couldn't 3 minutes before, right? I have more at my disposal than I had before, and I'm coming from a place of knowing that it's worth it, right? And that's just a very short little, a little snippet. Like it's like a vine that are like 6 seconds long, that I can picture him there in the cap and gown going, thanks, Mom, right? 6 seconds, whew, and my day feels better. But you can do things that are longer, and sometimes there are guided meditations that you can do. We have a guided meditation that is some creative visualization that is on our site. It's on our Facebook. Well, I'll see if we can move it up closer to the front of the Facebook. But it's a meditation that we have for stressed out parents, and it's 11 minutes long, and a guided meditation where I take you on a journey so that you feel more empowered by the end of it, hopefully. But stop and consider, like, what are the things that you'd like to, and I know it gets a little airy-fairy here, but what would you like to call into being in your life? I remember a time when all I wanted was to be in a house, not an apartment. And it consumed me. And, you know, now it seems like it was a silly thing, but it was important to me. It was important that my son have a backyard. It was important that he have a dog, and I knew we couldn't have a dog without a backyard. It was important to me personally to garden, and to be able to grow organic things in the backyard. Even if they all died, the practice of it was something that I needed. So I would visualize every day us living in a house. And in my creative visualization, it was okay to rent. I didn't need to own the house. It was okay to rent it, but that I pictured us there. And the key to whether it's a decent creative visualization is how you feel after you've spent a couple of minutes visualizing it. And every time I would visualize us living in a house, I felt capable and I felt excited and like good things were going to happen. And that's the way we all want to be approaching the day. And eventually, you know, we did get to rent a house with a backyard and get a dog. And I have found in my life that the things that we do, I know I said it was going to get airy-fairy, the things that you visualize creatively that make you feel good tend to be the things that we put focus into. I don't think it's some magical, mystical thing and that, you know, the creative visualization fairy goes, oh, you know, here's a house for you to rent. But I do think we put more time and energy into that and we focus more on it and we follow through on the goals that help us to get through that so that we get to do it. So stop and think about it today. What are you wanting? What would make you happy to visualize? I love when the lotto gets big, the super lotto gets big, and it's billions and billions of dollars. I love to spend a couple of minutes and visualize how would I utilize $13 billion. What would I do with $13 billion? And I make sure if I start to feel stressed about, oh, would I give it to this or that? No, that's not it. There's great abundance that's out there, and I think about how would I utilize this cash. And you know what? I'm always happy for a day after. Yep, I don't have $1 billion. I don't have $13 billion. But the truth of the matter is if I can walk around for 5 minutes and feel like I do, I don't know. It probably isn't as good, but since I don't know the difference, it feels as good as having it to me. So what do you want to feel like? What do you want to bring into your life? What do you want to call into your life? Spend a minute, go on a mental vacation, visualize it. Picture it in your head. It can be short. But if it makes you feel better, do it. It's free. Right? So that's our creative visualization. Okay, we are going to take a break, and because it's 11:13, I had said to Samantha we were going to do some news, but our guest is here. So we are going to take a break, a little bit of a longer break maybe, and we're going to bring Carrie Bowers in. I've never met her, and I'm so excited. She's going to be talking to us about the art of autism. She's going to be talking to us about normal people, Normal People Scare Me Too. This is part 2 of a film series that she has done with her son who is on the spectrum. And then we're also going to talk about a project that she's working on right now that has some pretty big ramifications for all of us and some things for all of us to learn and take away. So stick with us, back with Carrie Bowers after these messages.
What would you do if your child was hurting?
If your family's future was uncertain.
If help seemed out of reach.
Have you been given no hope?
Taka means I am not alone in this.
This is the reality for families affected by autism. And today, the number of children with autism is growing more rapidly than ever. Taka unites these families and shows that they do not have to fight this battle alone.
Our oldest son, Jared, who has autism, when we first took him to the doctor to get the diagnosis, you know, it's so sad because they offer you nothing. There's no help, there's no hope. One of the things that you learn with autism is being very grateful for even the small milestones. You know, when you first get the diagnosis, you go through all the range of emotions. You know, this can't be happening. Why is this happening? You have to get to a point where it's the emotion that has to be leading is, what can I do? The first thing that struck me was walking to a room and seeing
oh my gosh, we're not alone. And there is this very strong community that's already set. And something I still today associate with TACA the most is hope. To me, that's what TACA means. TACA means hope.
It's like you've got all these dreams and goals of what your son's going to do, and you get your diagnosis and you're sent home. And that's it. There's no plan of action. There's no, here's autism, here's what we're going to do to make your life better and help him. It's strictly go home and try to process it and go on the internet. It was devastating, and you just, you know, you go through this 3 week of depression, and then you snap out of it. You have to. And then you start making phone calls and trying to figure out what is autism and what are we going to do. And then we found TACA, and it was life-changing.
Autism, there really is no definitive answer. It is trying to find the resources that are out there that can assist you to help your child so that, you know, you just don't feel so helpless at those particular moments.
There was direction, and there was hope, and there was a little ray of sunshine that he's going to be okay, and we're going to be okay. I always look back and think we would never be where we are. Carson wouldn't be where he is at without TACA.
So 13 years ago, my son was diagnosed with autism, and that put our whole family into a tailspin. There were so many different ideas and things that were not proven. Nobody knew what guidance to give us. We had no direction. And then we found TACA. They helped give us a path to follow, help give our son a better future and make him healthy and put him back onto the road of recovery. When your son's first diagnosed, the first thing you hope for is, gosh, I just want my son to speak. I just want to be able to communicate with him in some way. Then you want a little more. You want him to go to a regular school. Then you want him to potentially have a real life and go to college. So you're always hoping for the future of your child. My son is a happy, healthy, vibrant young boy that's going to turn 15 really soon. And we couldn't be more pleased, and without TACA, I don't think we'd be in the place that we are today. We believe the future is not defined for many affected by autism. There is hope and direction for these kids and their families. TACA is dedicated to providing community, support, education, and hope to families affected by autism.
At TACA?
At TACA.
At TACA,
We are families with autism helping.
Helping.
helping families with autism.
Hi, my name is Matt. I am 19 years old, and I was diagnosed with autism when I was 6 years old. Autism is one of the fastest growing developmental disabilities in the United States, but I am living proof that with the right treatment, hope is possible. My future is not limited. Today, I am attending Fullerton Community College, and I run for the cross-country team for fun with my friends. It makes me feel proud when I think about my progress. Chances are you know someone affected by autism. Show them they are not alone, and help others get on the road to recovery. Contribute to Talk About Curing Autism today.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm really aflutter and excited because here in the studio, as promised, we have Carrie Bowers with us, and this is me getting to meet her for the first time. Welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to meet you.
I said earlier, it's like, is it the end of the world? Because I've wanted to meet you for a really long time, and like just not had it come to fruition. It just didn't work out, and here you are. I know Nancy Allspot Jackson said, I want to meet her. Everybody's very excited that you're here today.
Well, I'm excited at the ironic thing, and this is a metaphor for the world,
Okay.
is I live 15 minutes
Isn't that
away
crazy?
from you. I mean, how did we go so long, right?
Well, and then when I was saying earlier, and I mentioned to you briefly yesterday, that last year when the Miracle Project did a superhero camp at the Thousand Oaks office, my son was in the afternoon camp, but we were filming for both the morning camp and the afternoon camp, and we're talking a small room, like a maximum of 20 people in this room. It was not like a big performance where there are 300 people and you could easily miss somebody. So I was probably sitting 2 seats away from you, and we were even interviewing people, and later somebody said, oh, it's too bad you didn't get an interview with Carrie Bowers, and I was like, well, yeah, it is too bad, but like, why are you saying that? And they said, because she was here. And I said, what? And I was here in the same room with her and I didn't know it. It was crazy to me.
Well, I want to parlay off that because I see the world in metaphors.
Okay.
I see it in colors. I don't have synesthesia, but you would think that I do, right?
Okay.
As a so-called neurotypical. But that moment when we were in the same room and I was so focused on my role with working with the Miracle Project, and you were so focused on your role of filming and capturing that we missed an opportunity.
Yeah.
And I want to say that is part of the way that when I do one-on-one or I do groups and the art things and the various things that I do, that is very foundational for me to see how do I get to know this individual at a much higher vibration so that we don't miss those little things. And yet here we missed it. So
okay. Well, and now it's all come to fruition and you're here, and now I'll know who you are, so that next time if I'm sitting 3 seats away from you, I'm going to know and say, Carrie. But thrilled to have you here, and we need to get into talking about some of the different things that you do, and you do so much, Carrie. But obviously, one of the first things we have to talk about is that you are an amazing autism mom. You have a son who's on the autism spectrum, but he's an adult son, which I think is, for me as a parent who has a 13-year-old, you are one of those role models that we all look up to and go, okay, how does somebody get through these years and not just survive, but thrive and feed your kids inspiration and make it happen? You certainly have cleared a swath for all of us to follow a path with the things that you have done with your son.
it's a pretty amazing journey in that respect, being a mother. Back in the day, Taylor's 27, he'll be 28 on Christmas Eve.
Wow.
And there was no internet. There was no magazine or newspaper I could pick up and say, hey, group for moms of unusual, quirky kids.
Right.
I had to I was an artist, and I was also a paralegal working in music law.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had my traditional gig, but I had to figure out how do I hold a child who also had hypotonia, by the way? But he screams when I hold him, but if I don't hold him tightly enough, he'll fall, right?
Yeah.
Through my arms. So I began to use the arts early on, but make no mistake, before me there were very few people, though. Eustacia Cutler, you had Connie Lapin. I mean, you did have some pioneers who I like to think of the Wild West.
Yes.
And they kind of blazed through all of that big bushy stuff to make a basic trail.
Okay.
And then my generation came along and we began to widen the path.
Right.
But it was still unpaved.
Yeah.
And today what we're seeing is metaphoric roads and highways going in.
Yes.
So the opportunities have expanded. But back in the day, I put paint on Taylor's fingertips. I was painting a painting. He was like a floppy doll in my arms. And I put paint on his fingertips and grazed them across the canvas. And he hated it. And a voice in my head said, "What the bleep are you doing, Carrie?"
Yeah.
Ad pejorative.
Yeah.
And the answer came back, "I don't know, just keep doing it."
Right.
And I did, and I couldn't tell you today, it was so long ago, whether it was 6 months or a year of doing
Right.
that,
Yeah.
that he finally began to receive the paint and began to play with it. And what do we call that today?
Therapy.
Sensory integration,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I would film when he had 10 words, maybe 10 to 20 at 3 years old, and he was in what they called a seriously emotionally disturbed class. He didn't receive his diagnosis until he was 6 because the DSM-4
Right.
was on the heel. That was in 2000. I'm
Right.
Mm-hmm.
sorry, 1994.
Got it.
Right. Okay, I'm old. The dates all kind of meld together.
I'm not good with numbers, so I'm
but
hopeless.
I was like this, finding my way,
Yeah.
in a world that I didn't have a name for it. I didn't have a label. I didn't have other people who said, "Yes, I get you." And so I used art.
Yeah.
And I filmed him. What does Taylor see? I never told him, "Taylor looks mad." I would say, "What does Taylor see?" I presumed competence way back when because that was my instinct, not because that was like the tagline of the day.
Right.
And so that's what led to this multifaceted, universe that I live in now. That's why I do have my finger in so many pots, because I couldn't settle on one when he was a kid. I had to try everything.
Yeah.
I had to be turning over rocks and seeing what was there and what worked and what didn't.
Amazing. And so so many things have come to fruition for you. I sometimes worry if I have more than 2 things going at one time, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to get anything done. But you have a knack for getting things done. And some of the things that you've gotten done, there are now 2, not 1, but 2 documentaries that you have made in conjunction with your son. Normal People Scare Me.
Actually 4.
There's 4. Okay.
Well,
See?
and 5 if you include the student film.
Okay. All right. Well, this is what I was saying about before. What I shared with her a little bit during the break. What I shared with you guys, that I am intimidated in the best possible way, Carrie.
Oh, back
that
at you.
That I see what you're doing and I just go, okay, clearly this woman has more energy than I do. But it excites me, and I think, okay, we can all do more things. And I love to see what you're doing because it inspires me. But let's talk first, though, about Real People Scare Me, and now Real People Scare Me Too.
Okay, it's Normal People Scare Me, but you know what? No,
Real
that's
people.
good. That's a Freudian slip that
did
works
that
for
earlier,
me.
too. I'm sorry.
Because really, it's Unreal People Scare Me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Normal People Scare Me. The original film was released in 2006. We created that over a period. We started in 2004. Okay. My son, really great tip for parents: get your kid involved in community service.
Yeah.
And back in the day, going back to the history that I set up when there was nothing, there was no social skill groups. I had to bring it to my community and tell regional centers what it was, right?
Yeah.
Tell our providers what it was. I reasoned in my mind that if my son, who was very centric, very involved in his own, what he calls his own little world,
right.
If he was doing community service and learning to give to others, that he would begin to look outward and to be socially connecting, like it or not, with others. And it worked. I started when he was 8 years old. And his birthday, Christmas Eve, I mentioned that. He came to me a couple of weeks before, because we always adopted families less fortunate. And each year, starting at 8, we would basically say, okay, boy, girl toy. 12 years old. What would a 12-year-old like, Taylor?
Love it. That's great perspective taking.
And by the way, he wasn't in those early days able to access the answers.
Right.
He was very confused. It was a long process to the point where he was earning the money to buy the gifts, to go in and doing house chores, whatever, 12 years old, 13, etc.
Right.
To the point where he was now at 13, the year before this came up, he was choosing the gifts, choosing boys, girls, choosing the families, wrapping them, buying them, paying for them, and delivering them.
Wow.
3 years in, I said, we keep sending a box because we chose battered women as our target, right? And he kept putting, for 3 years, he put the box in a box. And it was inanimate because it wasn't real to the literal mind.
Yes.
And so one year I called him up and I said, I know it's top secret there, but my kid has autism and I'd really like it if we could. So they invited us to a Christmas party.
Wow.
And my son was able to hand it off. So he's 14, turning 15. It's a couple weeks before Christmas. And he says, Mom, this year I want to pay for the gifts for myself. And I want to really take it on, but I want to earn money in a different way. What can I do? And I said, well, you could clean the swimming pool. And perfect for a 14-year-old, soon to be 15, he went, I don't think so. I want to make videos and sell them.
Oh.
Now, remember, I'm a paralegal at this point. Motley Crue, was with them for 14 years, was our client. It was a crazy world. And so my literal mind is saying, you're a teenager, you haven't gone to film school, there's no money, we don't know how to make a film, so I told him he couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I looked at his face, and he believed every word I said.
Devastating.
And in that moment, across my brain, do-do-do-do-do, and they said, you might never walk or talk. And look at, I get a little choked up because this is so personal to my son and the spirit of who he is.
Yeah.
Because normal people scare me was his dream, his vision. Because he came to, I said, everything I said is a lie. I don't know how to make a film, but I will help you figure it out. What do you want to make it about? And this is again something for every person on any range of that spectrum or with mental health issues, etc., is do what you know and do what you love. And so when I suggested autism, because he didn't know what he wanted to make a film about, he just loved, that was his perseveration.
Right.
Film.
Right.
So he came to me that night and said, I want to call it Normal People Scare Me.
Wow.
And the universe works in beautiful ways. A week later, we met Joey Travolta, who agreed to mentor him for the student film. That begat contacts from all over the world. I want to buy, your film, and we went on to make a feature film.
Amazing. Amazing.
And now, 10 years later, we did a retrospective. I have a gift for you today.
Oh, how exciting.
As I'm foraging through my suitcase
But
here.
We love your suitcase. Oh, I'm so excited.
Normal people scare me too.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see it. And I got to see little snippets as you were filming, and I kept hearing about it as you were filming. And I have to say, we were talking about this with the interview earlier today, that Carrie is somebody who walks her talk, because not only did you make this film, but talk about the people who worked on the film and who they were, because the vast majority are individuals who are on the spectrum.
Taylor and I made a decision going into this, and Joey, of course, Joey began Inclusion Films after we released 10 years ago in 2006, Normal People Scare Me. He was teaching practical film school right next door to here to basically rich kids in the Valley.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. But he began to be inclusive of kids on the spectrum, and Inclusion Films was born.
Yeah.
And today it's a practical film school for adults. It's vendored by California's Regional Center System in Bakersfield. But guess who's coming to town? Yeah, we're excited about that. I can't give details, but it's been in the works, and it will be vendored by Tri-County.
Wow.
And it's an amazing practical film school. And so what we decided, Taylor, Joey, and I together, is that, you know, one of the big issues in the world of autism today is futures.
Yeah.
And kids, whether they go to 18 or 22, they get to the top of that cliff, they either get a certificate of completion or a diploma, and then they virtually fall off the cliff.
Yeah.
There's no jobs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
And so they end up a lot of times in their parents on the couch playing video games. I mean, this is really common, right?
Yeah.
So we decided to, the future is now. That's my little tagline. The future is
Love it.
right now.
Mhm.
So this film has 75% of the film crew was on the spectrum.
Which we love.
We have in this film the animation, the art, and the music compositions and the musical performances are created by people at about 70 to 75% as well.
Amazing.
And so this film is an inclusive production.
Yes.
It's not just a retrospective and Taylor interviewing dozens of individuals, kids and adults with autism. It is behind the scenes, these amazing people doing all the camera, lights, sound, boom.
Love it. Love it. So this is Normal People Scare Me Too. Where can people get, can they get Normal People Scare Me, and can they get this? Because this is just barely done, isn't it? It's fairly new.
It came out at the very, very tip of the end of April.
Okay, yes.
And we went on a California road trip and screened it in 4 different places. Deborah Hosseini,
Yes.
now Musicar,
Yes.
The Art of Autism. And we, all the way up to the Capitol, where we got like our marquee up there, you know, The Art of Autism. And we gave Hearts and Arts Awards to Quiet Heroes in Autism. And we had about, I would say, 400 people saw this. And so it has been out there for just a little while, and people can purchase it through my website right now, which
and what's
is
your website?
www.normalfilms.com.
Okay, normalfilms.com. And can we get Normal People Scare Me, the first one, on there as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, I know a couple of people are going to be so excited that they'll be able to get that. For those of you who I know were already writing me saying where and when and how, that's how you can do that, normalfilms.com.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And my website's being revamped right now. It's really stale and old, and so we're going to have a beautiful new facelift in the next couple of weeks.
I cannot believe anything you have is stale and old, because you clearly have a flair about you, and that it is wonderful. So you really, I cannot wait to see this, and those of you who are watching, this is something really important to be able to see. And this isn't the end, though. You've got many other things that you're working on, and we're gonna take a break. And as we go to break, we're gonna show the trailer from the film for people to see. And when we come back, we're gonna talk a little bit about, you mentioned the art of autism. And we've been able to have Deborah on the show before. But this is the first time having you on, and we know that this is equally your baby. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the art of autism.
Before we break, I have to say something.
Yes,
I see behind me this beautiful paint. It's an original painting by a Canadian artist, Ryan Smoluk.
Gorgeous.
He created that for the film, and I would be remiss in not giving him a shout out. Shout out to you, Ryan.
Love it.
Because it would be unfair to show that beautiful piece of work and not give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely. I love that we address that. But let's take a look, because a lot of it's featured here on the cover. And as I was watching on Facebook as you guys were doing interviews, one of the things that I kept saying was the backdrops were just amazing that you were filming on. It was something I noticed. So that's why I say you definitely have a flair. You have an eye, that artist's eye. So let's take a look at the trailer, and then we're going to come back and talk about the art of autism. But first, here's Normal People Scare Me Too.
Sound speed.
Saw sticks.
Action.
But yeah, welcome back to 10 years later.
It's good to be back, man.
I lack understandings that others possess. It affects, how I interact with the world. But the greatest thing for me that's helped me with my communication is confidence, and developing confidence that I did not have 10 years ago.
I see details.
Okay, this is from art class.
his occupational therapist, Joe Hyland. They were very close, and she died. I told David out of desperation that Joe became an angel in the sky. Right, David? Joe's an angel in the sky.
The title is still relevant because it still asks a question.
I don't think there's such thing as normal people around the earth.
They scared me a little more when I just got older, back since the age of 8 or 9.
When we did the first film, it was 1 in 106. It was like 66, and now it's less than 100. Wow.
Inclusion Films is a practical film workshop that takes adults with developmental disabilities through the whole process of making a film.
Of course, Joey over there, he kind of became a mentor of sorts.
I gave him a cameraman, I gave him an editor, but I said, you have to do all the work. You have to interview the clients, you have to get the clients, and then I'll help you, I'll mentor you. And that was really the start of Inclusion Films.
Autism is
difficult.
Challenge.
Understanding.
We're sisters.
We're brothers.
Twins.
Color.
Neurodiversity.
Function.
Progress.
Crowds.
Careness.
The nonverbal aspect.
Very gifted.
Different.
Personal goals.
Be independent.
Uniqueness.
Obsessions.
Hope.
Open-minded.
Normal.
Just like, let's say, our species is human, but every human is different.
It's so difficult to watch your child grow up. When they're younger, they're sheltered and there's some protection. The world is more forgiving when you're a child that's young with autism and your behavior is different, bizarre, aberrant, strange. Some would call it weird. But as your child gets older, you watch them walk out into the world that's not as forgiving when they're older.
I'm done.
Love it. Love it. It's just fabulous. So again, normalfilms.com to check that out. But we wanted to switch a little bit now and pivot and talk about the art of autism. We have on our wall the Art of Autism calendar, and we love everything that the Art of Autism does. We've had Deborah on the show a couple of times, so I don't know how it has never worked out, first with the radio show and then with this, that we never had you on. But you're a very busy person and you travel around the world and you do a lot of different things where you go and speak and lead workshops. So I think that that's part and parcel of it. Plus I'm a dipstick and sometimes don't follow up like a dog on a pork chop like I need to be. But you're here now, and that's what we're focusing on. So talk to us a little bit about, for somebody who's never seen before, how did the Art of Autism come to be and what kinds of things, because I know you guys are doing a lot of different things now. So talk to us about what's going on.
I like backstories as long as they're, positive and germane to what we're saying.
Sure.
So Deborah and I met, I think it was about, we still can't figure it out, like 15 years ago.
Okay.
And we were put together in a hotel room in Sacramento.
Just as strangers? You were
as strangers. We were lobbying with the ARC and with regional centers, and we were walking the state capitol, and we were talking to our legislators, Assembly and Senate, and bringing them into the mindset of certain bills, by the way, that ended up going against our community. We were advocating against, for example, disclosure of your financials.
Oh.
And we would scream from the rooftop, parents, please show up, please advocate. And guess who called us, like in droves for years? Why do I have to show them my tax returns?
Yeah.
And so we met as legislative advocates in a hotel room. Oh, hi, I'm Carrie. I'm Deborah. Okay. And we talked through the night. And we shared that we both had boys with autism, and we shared their stories, and we shared their love of artistic endeavors.
Right.
Kevin's a painter.
Yes.
And Taylor, although he loves art and he does do that, his thing is and has always been film and, of course, video games.
Right.
And so we talked through the night about our passions, our dreams, our hopes, what have you. Fast forward many, many years, about, I don't remember when it was the first Art of Autism book came out, but I called her up one day and I said, you're going to write a book. You're the person to do it with all this art from all the people that we know, and I've got the publisher for you. That book was published, it moved on, and 6 years ago, we created The Art of Autism, and the second book Deborah would put together in a beautiful way.
Yes.
And so for 6 years, we've been partners in crime. I think a lot of autism moms, and I call us mama bear managers, I think a lot of us tend to team up.
Yes.
You know, she's strong when I am weak. I am strong when she is weak. And so we've built The Art of Autism for 6 years as a collaborative around the world. It's international. We became a nonprofit 8 months or so ago.
Really?
And yes, and we have, I still can't get the head count, but it's over 500, heading in somewhere into the 600-700 artists with autism or autistic artists, if that's how you prefer to look at it, in the world.
Yeah.
And so what we do today, we've got some exciting things to share.
Okay.
And we will be at the Autism and Love conference. Oh, Normal People Scare Me Too will be screened at Autism and Love in
how
San
wonderful.
Diego.
That's the 9th,
October 8th and 9th,
8th
I
and
think it
9th,
is.
yes.
The Art of Autism now, for the first time ever, we're so excited, it happened this week.
Okay.
We have 3 art contests that will monetize the artist.
Love it.
We've done, you know, for our calendars, whatnot, we've had calls for art, and people have donated it, if you will, for, you know, it builds their resume, it builds their confidence, it builds their esteem. And so we've been doing that for years, like lots of different, we call them projects.
Right.
But now we're kickstarting just literally the first of this month at September. 3 contests. The first one is $100 to kickstart. We're going to start an online store to sell our artists' art.
Wonderful.
But we can't build Rome in a day.
Right.
So we're starting with one artist who wins this contest, and we're going to put that, whether it's on T-shirts or mugs, etc., and begin to monetize not just the artist, but the Art of Autism. We've been paying as we go, out of us, Deborah especially, out of our pockets to do this for 6 years. Now we're finally getting to the point where we're monetizing.
Wow.
The second contest I'm really excited about. In fact, there's a surprise coming into the studio for our next segment.
Yes.
And it's a contest for the cover of a DVD.
Okay.
It's called A Sound Paradigm, and we'll more about that in a while.
Okay.
And the winner of that contest will receive $500.
Love it.
Plus, you know, copies of the film and bragging rights and you know, the whole thing.
And it goes on the resume.
And then the next one, I have to be careful because we're still unrolling all the deal points, but it's a major company in the world that will be having 775 from January to June. They're going out across America, and they're having these events.
Yeah.
And 3 lucky artists are going to have their abstraction tell the story of this company's product.
Oh.
And I can't say the amount of the prize, but it's really big.
Okay.
I mean, these 3 winners, whoever is chosen, it will make a very big impact in their lives.
It's so exciting. And I have to say that, you know, there are probably some parents who are watching who maybe don't have the arts background that you have and that Deborah have, and they hear these stories of how kids access something in the arts. I think everybody gets excited, but I've heard this from parents before about, I don't know what to do. Like you had that moment where you put the paint on his fingers and your instinct said, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, but keep going. And parents will write in and say, I don't know how to do that. And I think that one of the great things about the Art of Autism is that it gives them a door into your world, to see what other people are doing, to take a look, and that's inspiration, right? And to hear your story and to know, okay, you didn't know what you were doing, but that all these things have come to fruition. So talk to us a little bit about if a family is watching.
Oh, I love
and,
this question.
And like, what should, obviously they want to go to the website, but what kinds of things can they be participating in to find these hidden gems in our kids?
I love this. First of all, I randomly, arbitrarily, because I didn't know this question was coming, but I love this question.
Okay.
I'm going to randomly give 3 tips, let's just say.
Okay.
And I would call this stick figures allowed.
Okay.
All right. You do not have to be an artist or have an artist's background or be a Rembrandt, level artist, if you will. Stick figures are allowed. So the number 1 tip for parents is sit down with your children, turn off technology, turn off your phone, by the way, and sit down and just doodle. Yeah. Even if, like I've never met a kid with the thousands of kids that I've met, and I've worked one-on-one with hundreds, because I used to do summer camps and whatnot. And I facilitate for the Friendship Circle, Sunday Circle.
Right.
So I have droves of kids, and I teach art to adults on Sundays. These are people who love art, right? And so a parent might say, well, my kid doesn't really love art.
Right.
But I consider it the arts. There's not a kid alive I've ever met who doesn't migrate toward one area of the arts or another.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether it's music, whether it's movement, whether it's drama, whether it's art, or we could even include things like surfing, or equine therapy, etc. So number 1 is presume competence and sit with your kid. And even if they don't want to involve or there's sensory issues, there's ways around those sensory issues, then model it for them.
Yeah.
It's I like to say tip number 2 is show me, don't tell me.
Yeah.
Show me, don't tell me. Now here's the thing about parents. They get the neurotypical or not, whatever.
Right.
They get into their head and they make all these decisions.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to sing out loud. I used to do Carol Gray social stories was the one creative thing in Taylor's childhood.
Right.
But something in me said, don't say it, sing it.
Right.
So put on your shoes and tell me that you love me. I wrote these social stories according to that formula.
Right.
And I shared them, but I sang it. And, today, I didn't know it at the time that, this side of the hemisphere is spoken language, but this side is singing.
Right.
And so we have kids write nonverbal, but they sing in the Christmas or the Hanukkah play, right?
Yes.
So presume competence and in yourself as well.
Yeah.
And if you're going to dare, if you will, and I use this intentionally, to raise that bar for the kid, then who are you not to demonstrate that and raise the bar for yourself?
There you go. I love that.
So get off your ego, parents. I love you to death. I am you.
Right.
You're my sisters and my brothers in this thing called autism.
Right.
But get off your ego and begin to dance with your kid, even if you can't dance.
Exactly.
Begin to draw with your kid, even if you can't draw.
I love it.
If you can't carry a tune, or there are families who there's quite a few of them. You probably know some of them.
Yeah.
They do full-on productions once a year
and
enroll their community, right?
Right.
You know kind of who I'm talking about. There's a couple of them now.
Yes.
There are so many things that parents can do if they just get out of their head, get into your heart, and sing off key, if that's what you do.
I love it. I love it. I want to make sure, because we're running out of time and we want to get to this 3rd segment, but for the Art of Autism, to go to the website, it's the-art-of-the-autism.com.
It is, and when we got that name, which of course that was no problem, but we could not get that URL. Somebody else has it. They probably get a lot of our traffic.
We're autism-live.com, because Autism Live was taken by somebody who isn't using it. So that's what it is. But it helped. I sort of love your URL, because I'm like, well, autism, we have hyphens.
Oh, really quick. I don't know when this is going to go out for public consumption.
Well, we're live now.
Oh, hi.
And then it will replay all day, and then we'll cut it up into segments that they'll be able to find on our YouTube and our iTunes and Stitcher and Roku.
Then I have to tell you about Poems for Peace.
Okay.
September 21st is World Peace Day, or International Peace Day.
Okay.
And throughout the month of September, the Art of Autism is supporting Poems for Peace.
Okay.
Our first blog is going out with poems created by people with autism.
Okay.
and or artwork. And we're still able, because we can post as, at will. It's not this target date per se, it's the whole month.
Okay.
We are a stand for peace, and peace begins in our hearts.
Yes, doesn't it just?
So
where do people send them? Do they go to the
Carrie
Art
at
of Autism?
Carrie at normalfilms.com, because this
Carrie
is sort
at
of my
normalfilms.com.
project within the Art of Autism.
Okay.
So
if they have a poem or a piece of art that they want to send to you to be considered for that, they can do that. Carrie at normalfilms.com.
Yeah, and there's
Fabulous.
so many tips on how kids could write poems. Just go online and look it up, because if you
Okay.
think you can't, parents are welcome to write poems and send them in too.
Okay.
Or
great.
siblings.
All right, fabulous. Now we have to take a short break, and then we're going to bring a guest in. Tell us who's
Yay.
coming in.
Yay, Bob DeMarco. He's creating a brilliant documentary and enrolled me in working with his team to make this happen. And I'll just leave the viewers, the listeners, like on the edge of their seat, because this
Okay.
is going to be an amazing, amazing film.
So stick with us. Back right after this.
Well, today is the One Hope Act Today for military families 10K and 5K run, walk, and family fun festival.
Thanks for coming out to support this awesome cause.
What I'm trying to accomplish here is to get more people involved, more people to be aware of autism as a disorder, so that they can be more involved in this effort to help people find resources.
Pull that belly button in, get a nice balance there.
This is an incredible event. I'm very passionate about it. Autism is affecting so many kids across the United States, and I also support our military.
1, 2, 3, 4.
My name's Gunnery Sergeant Sean Tajma, working with the School of Infantry West. I'm currently running with 1st Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion. I personally involved with this because my son Jacob has autism. I just want to say thanks to Act Today for what they're doing to help my family and other military families with autism.
Here we go, let's hear it for the 2nd Light Infantry.
Some of the main sponsors here. Of course, One Hope Wine is the title sponsor.
What we do is we donate 50% of our profits back to different partner charities, one of them being Act Today, that does a fantastic job.
Act Today is very dear to my heart because when my husband was deployed, they were there when we didn't know how we were going to make things happen. They give so much to the military family, and it comes at a time when you just don't know how you're going to make ends meet. So to me, it's more than just an event, and it's more than just a grant. It's a gift.
All right, you guys, have we gone over the rules?
Thank you all to the teams, to the individuals that donated to this fantastic cause out here again this year. The event got larger.
People ask me why military families with autism. Why does Act Today have that as a special program? I'll tell you why. Because our military families should not have to fight two battles. One, to protect our country, and another, to get services for their children. They move so often. Every time they move, they have to start again. We owe it to them. And it just was a tremendous success. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for taking part in it.
Check this out, Marine. See all these wonderful people? All you gotta do next year, Marine, Devil Dog, 2 for 100, sign up with me, staff or an email, and I'm gonna take you out here, do a little 5K, little PT early in the morning. After that, you can have the time of your life. After that, I might even be able to get you a letter of appreciation, maybe a little libo time. How's that sound?
Sign up for next year because this is an event that comes on and on. It's a win-win situation here.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here with Carrie Bowers and Bob DeMarco. We've been talking about Normal People Scare Me Too. We've talked about the art of autism. And now Carrie has asked that we bring Bob in to talk about a project that you're collaborating on right now. Tell us, this is another film, a documentary. Tell us the name of the film.
A Sound Paradigm.
Okay. And let's start with, what does this have to do with autism? Because I know it does have a thread that has to do with autism.
Right.
It's unintended.
It's exactly. It's basically the story of Dave Royer, who's a microphone designer, and he's on the autism spectrum. He has Asperger's, and he's basically changed the world of microphones and recording. And the best part of the story is how this team came together to support him and be able to build this worldwide massive company. It's an amazing story.
It also, though, is beyond that, not just the team that supported that administrative executive functioning and a brilliant genius of a guy who brought a dying art, ribbon mics in technology. They were going out and modern was coming in, and Dave was like the ears hears, you know, and so the team, this is fascinating, and this is something, oh my gosh, parents and people involved in micro enterprise, his two people from his team, all three of them went to therapy together. What was that, like 20 years ago? Or
Yeah.
They learned how to communicate with each other, because the neurotypical world is one realm, and then you've got this autistic mind who's very focused. They had to learn how to communicate.
Yeah.
And what a I mean, when I learned that, I was like over the moon that these people were so committed. And so this film is also intended to inspire people. Like Bob's son is a twin, 11 years old.
Right, he's 11 year old on the spectrum. And Dave Royer was a tinkerer. He loved music. That was his passion when he was young. But he started getting into recording and microphones and tape decks. And his mother, Georgine, who's 90, she's in the documentary. Amazing woman. She just facilitated all of this for him. He had brothers and sisters that were neurotypical, and he had to pony up in the family and do everything just like everybody else, but they were supportive. And it just is this amazing story of community coming together to support Dave in what he was passionate about. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this. You know, it's the team and the community coming together. You know.
And not only are we going to see a lot more of it, we need to see a lot more of it. I think more and more people need to understand what a gift there can be from autism, and what those individuals have to offer to the world if given the right support and given the right resources.
This is so critical, and I'm so thrilled to be involved in this project, because from the minute that Bob, we found each other, we were introduced by a dear friend to both of us, I was like immediately looking up this incredible guy's background, Dave Royer, and so immediately had my heart. But it ties into something, and this too is a strategy, and it's something that you're going to start hearing me advocate publicly.
Okay.
In fact, I'm speaking on a couple of stages, and this is my theme.
Okay.
My son, last December, we got rid of his old staff. He lives in his own apartment, by the way, independent living. But his staff was not fulfilling things, whether it was banking, shopping, cleaning his home, etc. After 3 years of Mama Bear backing off, let him fall down so he can learn to get back up. By the way, parents, you got to let your kid learn to make decisions by letting them fall. Just very quickly, we fired basically everybody and brought in a new team. And Taylor's one-on-one staff is his age, 27 years old, with autism.
Wow.
He's at a different level with the admin executive functioning.
Right.
And so he is processing, if you will, Taylor's life in a completely different paradigm, introducing me to my son in a different way. How does that tie into this amazing film? It's because the team around Dave and now the team around Taylor are so enrolled in hearing that person. You know, we have a lot of platitudes for person-centered planning.
Right.
They make great little bumper stickers.
Right.
But systemically, we don't live into it.
Right.
And so this is a film about a community that really, really heard Dave and did not direct his genius.
Wow. So tell us quickly, because we're really out of time now, but where are you in the process of the film? When do you expect to be done?
2017, we brought in Carrie. It would have taken 5 years more without Carrie, just wanted to say.
Yeah.
I appreciate her so much, because she has all of those things that, you know, for me, I'm just out there shooting video thinking I want to do a documentary.
She's part of your team now.
She is.
We all need a team.
And we all need a team, and the beauty of all of this. And without her, I mean, obviously I wouldn't be here talking to you.
So yeah, we just set up a Facebook page, a Sound Paradigm.
The Sound Paradigm.
A
Sound Paradigm, okay.
In 24 hours, I think it was, we had about 150 people chiming in to like the page.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So check it out. And once you're on that Facebook page, then you're going to do updates, I'm sure, about what's happening so people can have information.
Absolutely. That's the function of the page, is to
Wonderful.
keep people posted as the filming process goes, but also to learn about sound and neurology and the brain and what science is considering. You know, we still consider the brain the most remarkably misunderstood machine, if you will.
Yeah.
And so this is also to educate people.
It's just an amazing story about teamwork and everybody coming together, and that's how we maximize all of us.
Yeah.
I'm maximized by Carrie being here.
Yep.
You know, I'm maximized by you being here and this story getting out. It's
absolutely.
all the integration
and I
of
can't
everything.
do a show without all of you and without Samantha running the board. So, you know, it takes a village.
Absolutely.
All the way around.
So write to Shannon and tell her we want Dave Royer in studio.
Absolutely. We'll get him.
They don't have to ask. I want him here. So,
okay, cool.
He's fascinating.
Wonderful. So you guys will hook me up and we'll get him in to talk about that.
Absolutely.
Fabulous. Mwah. All right, we are totally out of time, but I love these folks, new friends. I want to let you guys know we're back next Wednesday in the first hour. Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Grampiche will be here. In the second hour during Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, the fabulous Dave Humphrey from Kirkman Labs has got some amazing things to unveil, huge news, and a new supplement that I can't wait to take. We've been talking about the El Cherry. It's a coming. So check that out next Wednesday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.